Now that we have focused our attention on the question that you will be answering, now is going to be the time where we start annotating our documents. And again, the documents have already been created. We know already that we are starting with document A, and this is going to be talking about the idea of equality. Going back to those ideals will help you solidify what it is you're looking for. Because remember, one of the first things to do when annotating a document is you need to think of the overarching question that you are looking at. So how does this document connect to the concept of equality? First of all, since this is our first DBQ, we are giving more of the assisted version. So you have your document, and you also do have some document analysis questions. However, don't feel that your goal is just to answer these questions. It is best to actually look at the document in itself and then use the questions at the end to kind of help with your understanding of what you just saw. One thing also to kind of clarify here, because this is our first documents, even though this is called document A, there are actually two individual primary sources on this page. All right, and one of the first things I would always like to draw your attention to is you want to look at the source and the note. The sources and the note are very important. So you would look at the source and you find out this is actually from a women's rights convention. So if we're talking about the term of equality, that might help you think about maybe we're going to be talking about gender equality here for women. And you also want to look at the date, 1848. We'll know that the Declaration of Independence was written earlier than that. So we're looking for the connections. Note, July 1848, approximately 260 women and 40 men met in Seneca Falls, New York, for one of the first women's rights conventions. And the convention was adopted the Declaration of Sentiments. So now we're going to start looking at this passage. All right, you may want to note that, again, I would circle women here, and maybe you want to put a note that we're probably talking about gender equality. Maybe you want to put a note here saying taking place, let me do my math very quickly, 72 years, I'm pretty sure, after the D of I, okay? And again, anything else you might want to feel that you might want to identify, you want to write in the margins. Remember, annotations include writing down your thoughts and ideas. And then we say we hold these truths to be self-evident. You definitely want to know what self-evident means, and we have talked about this earlier, but this is like self-knowing, or truth. Because because we did talk about that with the Declaration, that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights governments are instituted, deriving their just powers from the consent of the government. Now, this is going to sound very similar to, the statement of human rights and that would be in the D of I. However, there's a big difference. So you would probably circle this idea here, because we'll know that and women is not mentioned. Addition from Declaration. Maybe you have some questions here, okay? This is 1848. If you know about the 19th Amendment and granting equality, and even our continual struggle, do we have this? Maybe you want to ask questions and say, do we currently have gender equality? Okay. This is, nearly 200 years ago that we're saying men and women are created equal. Are we there now? Were we there in 1848? And so as you can see, you're dissecting the text. I cannot say enough that it is so important to note the source, because you also want to think about something that you're learning about in English that you'll learn a little bit more about in civics in a little bit, is you got to think about bias and purpose. If this is a women's rights convention, what is the motive behind making this text, by making this statement? So you want to be thinking about the source, you want to be looking at the notes, and then you want to dive into the text. Definitely identifying key words that you may not know and defining them. You want to be asking questions in the side, and most importantly, making connections between what you see here and the Declaration of Independence. Once you feel you have a good understanding of that document, then feel free to go to the next part of the document, and then for further analysis, I would answer these questions. And then you can move on to the next one. At this point, again, you are still not going back and answering the question. Now here's where we are gathering our research and our evidence to go back and successfully answer the question of which declaration ideal is most important to you. If there are any questions on either bucketing or on dissecting or annotating these texts, please see Ms. Kane or myself tomorrow. Thank you.